while talking with friends or strangers, that the conversation is never complete without criticism. Somebody's criticizing someone. It's strange. I was thinking that there are only two things in life which are certain: death and taxes. But now I feel there is one more unpleasant thing which is certain, and that is criticism. No one escapes it entirely, I suppose. And often our careers, our emotional stability, our happiness depends upon how we react to, how we respond to the criticism. I feel there are two kinds of criticism. One is gentle, tactful, constructive type or the variety, which no one gets much often, and very rarely one receives it. And the other one, which is blunt, harsh, and hostile type. This is the most common, very common, and universal, which I suppose everyone receives it almost every time. And if you are more successful in any field, then you are bound to receive greater criticism. I feel if you are a sensitive person and an honest one, you can't just brush criticism aside or pretend it's not there at all, or develop by, they call it, the thick skin. You simply have to face it on and I think you have to face it on three levels: emotional, this rational level, and certainly the practical level. Controlling your emotional reaction is hardest things, I believe. Critics Criticism is a direct attack on your self-esteem, therefore easy to react with resentment and anger. But this makes you further vulnerable. You are just poisoning yourself. First thing I feel, you must force yourself to be dispassionate. When a man has the God-given inner calm, cool, collective attitude, he or she is not likely to be disturbed by man-made storms. In return, I feel we must offer our sincere prayers for our critiques. Bless them, those who hurt you. This is the most of the religious book says, even you read any. And the another method I feel is to simply steady your emotions under attack. Is to reflect that strong men and women have always been criticized. Keep that thought in you. The second step is to be rational. Examine the criticism objectively. Ask yourself honestly if there is any truth in it. Also examine the the qualifications of your critics. How important he or she is. Is reputable and sincere? If so, better not dismiss the criticism. Think it over. If he or she has reason to be spiteful or jealous, simply dismiss it and move on. Don't waste your time. It may well happen that you receive the exaggerated or criticism in a much enlarged form. Remember, people always enjoy the excitement of feud and love to throw a very renowned person who has been getting so much of criticism, but he was very successful. He said that my critics They are eminent men whose judgment I respect. He added that, therefore, I had better re-examine my message and my methods, and that if I found any error, I would do my best to correct it. I will never forget the expression of those critics' faces when they are telling something on my face. They had been looking for a battle and they were unable to slip on it. Trying to deal with criticism, my friend, rationally brought me to one of the other conclusions. Not everyone is going to like me or you. Just as some people rub us the wrong way for no particular reason, so we rub some others the wrong way. If you face it as a simple truth, you will not be unduly disturbed by a certain amount of unpopularity. Let it be. My friend, remember, criticism is a two-edged sword, and often it is the poisoned edge that cuts the person who wields it. Gossip, for example, is nothing but criticism motivated by jealousy or insecurity always. Small people often find it easier to tear someone else down than to try to build themselves up. But what is their reward? No one trusts them. In the end, no one believes them. They get exposed. You read any holy scriptures, they command us to return good for evil. This is not a pious nonsense. My friend, kindness is stronger than malice always. There are a lot of people I keep meeting who are in respectable positions. They have almost a similar views. One of the people wrote an article against him. He says the newspaper has violently opposed my methods. And he spread all kinds of negative stories on every effort or attempt of mine, whatever I have did. But one bitterly cold afternoon, that same reporter traveling with me somewhere fell asleep, huddled in the berth in front of me. I stopped and removed my overcoat and covered the man. And when that reporter awoke and found out what has happened, he sent a telegram to me, to that person, announcing apology, rendering apology, and he even went to the extent he resigned from his newspaper, his job. He couldn't go on maligning a man big enough to answer his criticism by befriending him. We can always adopt such methods, my friend. Constant critiques are often wrapped and unhappy people clutching at false importance, trying to cover up their own inadvocacies, their own insecurities by pointing out the failings of other people. My friend, the best thing to do when you encounter hostility in another person is to try to get behind the anger, to understand what causes it, and to remove the cause for the other person's sake as well as for your own. I was reading somewhere in a book, the author writes that it is much easier to be critical than correct. So there will always be plenty of critics in the world, some well-intentioned, other cruel. You can defend yourself against the unkind one by learning to control your emotional reaction, by adopting calm and rational attitude, and by honestly trying to help your critics to rid themselves of their anger. But in the final analysis, my friend, your best defense is your own day-to-day conduct. It is keeping your moral standards high. It is having a clear conscience. It is living a life without any necessary whatever for deception or for lies or for concealment. My friend, remember, criticism is something you can avoid by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. Thank you very much.